Next on Eyewitness News, the worst mass shooting in American history. Dozens of people killed in an attack in Florida. What we know about the gunman, the victims, and reaction from people in Orlando tonight.
Plus, from Orlando to the Triangle, a community in mourning. We'll show you how people are coming together tonight to show their love and support. Eyewitness News at 10 starts right now.
See what's happening this instant. ABC 11 Eyewitness News at 10 on CW 22 starts right now.
I was covered in blood. I had lost my shoes. Both of my socks were covered in blood. I just remember telling myself, like, this is not how I die. Like, not today. It's not today, and not like this, at least.
A survivor of the Orlando nightclub shooting recounting the moment a gunman walks in and opened fire. When the gunfire ended, 103 people were shot, 50 of them were killed, 53 others injured. Good evening, I'm Steve Daniels.
And I'm Dewan Hogard. Heather Wallago has the evening off. The attack in a gay nightclub in Orlando is the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. Tonight, a portrait of the victims and the gunman is emerging.
We have every angle covered from the Triangle to Orlando tonight. Here's the latest as of 10 o'clock. Most of the injured are in critical condition, and officials are worried the death toll will climb.
And as the attack was happening, the gunman called 911, professing his allegiance to ISIS. Federal agents say he legally purchased at least 2 firearms within the past week, and the FBI says it interviewed the gunman 3 times in recent years, investigating a tie to terrorism.
Tonight, people in Orlando came together for a candlelight vigil to honor those victims. Joel Brown live now in Central Florida near the Pulse nightclub with the latest for us tonight. Joel.
Steve, I spoke to a man a little earlier this evening who lost 3 friends inside Pulse nightclub last night. 3 of the 50 were people that he knew, were people that he loved. And for many here in Orlando's LGBT community, and really this city as a whole, even if you knew none of those victims, it hurts just as hard. We journeyed into Orlando's downtown. They lit 50 candles for the 50 souls lost. This neighborhood pub opened especially Sunday night to be a gathering place for anyone and everyone affected by what happened at Pulse nightclub.
Today is definitely one of my worst fears actualized.
Lewis Bennett and Taylor Knight came to mourn. They told us they were a split decision away from partying at Pulse last night, but as fate would have it, they decided on another nearby gay-friendly bar.
And around 12 o'clock, we're wondering where we're going to go. We could have easily decided to go to Pulse. We wound up going to Parliament House, but we could have been there.
It's not the fact that we know people in the club, it's the fact that it hit the LGBT community and all.
In the hours after the act of terror and hate at Pulse, Orlando has responded with love.
Because love needs to step up.
Love needs to step up.
Mm-hmm.
And you came right over.
I came right over.
Mary Ojeda and thousands of others in this area flooded local blood banks. When word got out that blood levels were low at Orlando's main trauma center, residents lined up by the thousands, waiting for hours for a chance to help the victims. How long have you been in this line?
4 hours.
4 hours?
4.5, yeah.
Going on 5.
Wow. Call out of work. I was like, I got to go down there. I got to be a part of it. So.
You called out of work and you're standing in this line instead.
Yes, sir. Had to be a part of it.
No matter how long the line is, I feel like we should all just put our part into what needs to happen, because that could have been you or me in there, in the shooting.
So on this first night after the worst mass shooting in the nation's history, we found Orlando turning to love, but still struggling to process the grief.
It's so difficult to think that at 2 o'clock yesterday, as we were at Parliament saying goodnight to each other, going our separate ways, that just a few miles down the road, someone else was losing their life tragically for no real reason other than just hatred.
So the outpouring of support from Orlando and this surrounding area has been tremendous. Equality Florida, which is this state's largest LGBT advocacy group, started an online fundraiser. All the funds are going to help the family and the victims of the people shot inside. The goal was $1.5 million. As of this hour, they have already raised $925,000. We're live in Orlando tonight. I'm Joel Brown, ABC 11 Eyewitness News at 10.
Looks like they will surpass that goal very soon. Joel, thank you. And a city gripped by so much pain tonight. We are learning more now about the gunman. That man right there, Omar Mateen. He was licensed in Florida to be an armed security guard. The 29-year-old was a U.S. citizen born to parents from Afghanistan. His father says he recently expressed anti-gay feelings. Authorities say he drove 2 hours from his home in Fort Pierce to Orlando, armed with an assault rifle and a handgun. President Obama spoke about the attack at the White House this afternoon.
This was an act of terror and an act of hate. Attacks on any American, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, or sexual orientation, is an attack on all of us.
A terrorism observer says a claim of responsibility from ISIS is an unusual message, and this message from ISIS could be opportunistic. It does not claim the group actually directed the plot, unlike past ISIS claims. 11 Orlando police officers and 3 sheriff's deputies are now off the job. That is standard procedure because they were involved in the shootout that killed Mateen. An Orlando police officer hit in that exchange did survive thanks to his Kevlar helmet.
And tonight we're getting a chilling look at the gunman from his ex-wife. She says Omar Mateen was violent and bipolar. Sator Yusufai says they were married for 4 months in 2009. She spoke from Boulder, Colorado this evening and said he beat her repeatedly while they were married, and her parents rescued her from their marriage when his mental health problems became too much.
When he would get in his tempers, he would express hate toward things, toward everything. So in that respect, yeah, but it was at the moments when you would see his emotional instability and turning totally different.
She also expressed her sadness about the shooting rampage and extended her condolences to the families of the victims.
The names of the victims are starting to be released as family and friends wait outside the hospital for word about their loved ones. Juan Guerrero is one of the people who was killed. He was with his boyfriend at the Pulse nightclub. Others are still missing, like Jeff Rodriguez, who sent his brother a text message from the middle of the chaos saying he was bleeding.
Last text said, I got shot, I'm bleeding out, I think I'm dying. I love you guys. Tell mom, dad, everyone I said I love them.
We're also hearing some of the stories about the dozens of people injured in the shooting, like bartender Rodney Sumter, who's a father of 2.
News of the Orlando shooting is being felt right here in the Triangle. The LGBT community coming together tonight to hold a vigil in honor of those affected by the tragedy. Tim Pulliam joins us live. He was at that vigil. Tim, what can you tell us about the response from the LGBT community?
DeJuan, I can tell you that there were a lot of tears here at the vigil and a lot of frustration too. Just to give you some perspective, DeJuan, these individuals have fought so hard to be who they are, and they say that this terrorist attack threatens that, and they don't want that to put fear in these individuals. And we were able to speak to someone here that says that he knows 3 of the victims in Florida personally.
Luis Viana, 22 years old.
Prayers for the dead and injured in the Orlando massacre. Emotion hitting close to home for Derek Brown.
I lost 3 of my best friends of 35 years today. And I don't know how to wrap my head around that.
So upset, Brown left work to be here outside of Legends, a gay bar in Raleigh, to grieve. He's like many others here trying to understand why the alleged gunman, Omar Mateen, attacked the gay nightclub in Orlando, killing 50 people and injuring dozens. Brown says his friends traveled from New York to Orlando to celebrate this month's LGBT Pride. They ended up at Pulse.
It was supposed to be fun. They just wanted to go salsa dancing. That's it. They just wanted to go hang out and have fun.
Their fun turned to tragedy.
I sent text messages to each of their phones, and only one of them got back to me. And he said, I'm okay. I don't know what's going on with the rest. And then later, he called me and said, they're all gone. It just scares the heck out of me that I could die just because of who I am.
Right now, they gather as one with this message.
We're all human. Just a little love, kindness, understanding, empathy. I am my brother's keeper.
And I can tell you, DeJuan, that this is also impacting the local Muslim community. I just got off the phone with one of my Muslim friends, and he tells me he was a part of a panel discussion earlier today at the Community Church of Chapel Hill, where he was able to discuss his disagreement with this terrorist attack. There are going to be many more vigils in the coming days and weeks. There's one tomorrow at 7 o'clock at Pulliam Memorial Baptist Church. We are live in Raleigh. Tim Pulliam, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
Tim, thanks. People here in North Carolina and all across the country are expressing their emotions about the shooting on social media tonight. Law enforcement describing this today as the deadliest terrorism attack in this country since 9/11. And here where the Twin Towers once stood in Lower Manhattan, the Freedom Tower is there. The spire tonight is lit in the colors of the rainbow flag. Take a look at what's happening outside the White House tonight. People tweeting these pictures out, a gathering out there. These people holding a sign saying, "Stop the killing." People coming in solidarity on behalf of the victims in Orlando. Candlelight vigils being held across the country tonight. People mourning the loss in Orlando and grieving right alongside with those people. Just a small glimpse of what's happening on social media tonight, DeJuan.
The flag outside the White House lowered this afternoon. President Obama ordering all flags be lowered to half-staff until sunset Thursday in honor of the victims. Governor Pat McCrory ordering all state flags also to be half-staff in honor of the victims of the Orlando shooting. The governor says he's reached out to the officials in Florida to offer any assistance the state can provide. He released this statement saying, in part, the shooting that occurred in Orlando was a tragedy and something that should never take place in our country. Those who died were innocent victims of an inexcusable act of violence.
North Carolina's highest-ranking Homeland Security official telling ABC 11 they are staying in close contact with federal authorities and sharing any information that might be helpful. Frank Perry, the Secretary of Public Safety and the Homeland Security advisor, says it's not enough anymore to respond to terrorism events. Law enforcement also has to collaborate and act on suspicion. Frank Perry says terrorism is everyone's burden to bear and problem to solve, not just the FBI and Homeland Security. The head of the Florida chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations calling the shooting extremely disgusting. He spoke this afternoon calling for solidarity among all people, especially with the LGBT community.
Extremely disgusting, inhumane terrorist attack against our fellow Floridians, our fellow Americans that happened in the early hours of this morning. We stand in solidarity with the LGBT community in particular. There is never ever any justification for such unacceptable crimes against humanity, crimes against God, crimes against our country. We must all stand united regardless of our race, religion, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. Stand united for peace, harmony, and unity against those who wish to promote violence, fear, and hatred.
CARE also says it is launching a fund right now to help the victims of that attack in Orlando.
On the same day as the deadliest mass shooting in American history, a heavily armed man was arrested in Southern California. Officials say he was headed to the LA Pride Festival. Santa Monica police got a call about a suspected prowler. The man told them he was waiting for a friend. Then officers found several weapons, including at least one assault rifle and lots of ammunition inside of the man's car. The LA Times is reporting officers also found tannerite, which can be used to make a pipe bomb. Authorities say the incident is not linked to the attack in Florida. Well, up in flames, a popular bar and restaurant in Chapel Hill badly burned this morning. What we know about how that fire started.
Also coming up, a brush with nature, the bizarre encounter on a Durham highway that sent one person to the hospital.
But first, a live look at the Raleigh Eyewitness News Center, downtown Raleigh. A nice, warm, breezy Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon and evening. Looks like things are going to shape up pretty good. Liz Horton is coming up in just a few minutes.
She'll have the work week forecast straight ahead, but we continue keeping our eye on tonight's top story. Here's a live look at what's happening in Orlando. Our crew on the scene near the Pulse nightclub, where crime scene investigators continue their work piecing together the deadliest mass shooting in American history. The victims, many of them still inside the nightclub tonight. Their loved ones waiting for positive word, positive identity on the people who lost their lives there last night. We'll be right back.